and new undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world,
Dmitry Bivol is the new undisputed light heavyweight champion in what was another high-level terrific contest between two pound-for-pound fighters. However, it was Bivol who proved to be the more consistent and adaptable throughout the whole fight. It was a very interesting start to the fight, in fact. Beterbiev started a lot faster than the first fight, maybe with the intention of trying to leave no questions asked. Despite the initial aggression from Beterbiev, Dmitry was still able to land his jab and counter successfully in the early rounds. However, round 4, Artur really started to step up the pace, interchanging his right hand consistently to the body and head of Bivol. And it seemed to be doing the job, as it appeared Dmitry was clearly trying to conserve his own energy and output for the later rounds, or just didn't want to leave himself open to one of those clubbing right hands. And round 5, it just looked like the momentum had completely swung in Artur's favour, and that this was either going to be a long or even a short night for Bivol. However, from round 6 to 9, it has to be one of the most tremendous displays of movement and combination punching I've seen for a long time. Bivol, in my opinion, made Beterbiev look pretty ordinary in these moments, and whether it was because Artur was feeling the pace of the fight, it was these rounds that were the decisive difference in the fight. In the championship rounds, Artur came out very strong in the 10th, knowing he needed one last surge if he was to have any chance of winning, even to get the knockout. For just when it looked like the momentum might swing back in Artur's favour, round 11 Bivol came right back, landing just as strong counters, jabs and combinations as he was doing in those 4 rounds before, while Bivol also suffered a nasty cut in those late rounds. Nevertheless, despite this, he stayed composed, fighting through the brutality of Artur Beterbiev. Unlike the first fight, where I felt Bivol lost in these moments, he pushed through to make a point he wasn't rolling over. In the final round, Artur came back strong again, and although I gave him the 12th round, it was a little too late for me personally. Now, for you guys that have followed me for a while, you will know I was someone who actually gave Beterbiev the first fight, and it truly doesn't matter to me who wins as long as the right guy does, as I enjoyed both of these fighters. With all that being said, I scored this fight quite clearly, 116 to 112 to Bivol. This was a far easier fight to score than the first in my opinion. From watching back the fight for the second time, the biggest swing round from the fight was probably the third. While Beterbiev clearly won 4, 5, 10 and 12, the rest of the rounds were clearly Bivol. And even if you did give Beterbiev that third round, I find it very hard to give a case for him to win any of the other ones. But overall, it was Bivol that was far more consistent in this fight, even with Artur's constant pressure and aggression. His momentum coming forward played right into the hands of Bivol's counterpunching and movement around the ring. I do have to question that 114-114 card as well, but I did see some people score it, and I think people just prefer the aggression and pressure of a fighter sometimes, seeing that as controlled ring generalship. Now, no way I'm saying that's completely right, as there's lots of other factors to judging, but I just felt this was a very clear Bivol win. Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's have a look at the punch stats, and compared to the first fight, we saw a good improvement from Bivol in terms of output, throwing just over 100 punches more. I think that's actually helped him look a lot more consistent with his attacks compared to the first fight, although he did land pretty much the same as the first ironically. For Beterbiev this time, he didn't throw as much, as he was no doubt trying to use his aggression and pressure to try cut off the ring and close that gap to land the bigger power shots on the inside. However, Bivol's footwork, movement was so on point tonight that overall it really did just neutralise Artur from being able to set up any of those big power shots. And the other factor you have to consider is his age. Is it starting to catch up with him? He just recently hit 40. Now personally I don't think this was too much of a factor, but maybe it's something to consider going forward if there is going to be a trilogy. And although I think the aggression and fast start was good, he clearly just wasn't as consistent enough with his output in this fight. But I also just think that's because of the way Bivol approached the fight. At the end of the fight, it was also great to see Bivol give his respect to Artur, and even in return.
During the build-up, there was a bit of tension. You wasn't really shaking hands. What was said afterwards, and is there now an element of respect between you two after sharing 24 rounds together?
After the fight, I came to Beterbiev and I told him, Artur, I respect you so much, because when I was young and I came to national team, I was looking after you, how you are training, and you were the #1. I really respect you, and I want to shake your hand and say thank you for this fight. And we shake hands. And he said, thank you for the fight also, and this is sport. Yeah, this is what happened. you are a good fighter also. And then we had another talk. He came, but he didn't. But he said like, I will not shake hand now because we will have third fight, and it was in the normal way, not like arrogant. You know, it was fine. I said, okay, no problem.
At the end of the day, these are just two generational great fighters. This fight wouldn't have meant as much if they weren't both so good. I guess the question now is, what next? And I think the most obvious would be the trilogy with Beterbiev. Personally, I think it's only fair he gives Beterbiev the rubber match, considering he gave him the rematch. And can Bivol back up this performance again? I think mentally and physically for both, this is an extremely demanding fight to take. But so will any other fight going forward, depending on the routes they want to go. The other options are Benavidez, who just recently made himself the WBC interim champion after his win against Morel, while you also have to be impressed with Callum Smith's performance over Boatse on the undercard, putting him in pole position for a title shot as well. In the press conference after, there was even some conversation about Bivol moving up to cruiserweight eventually, and despite him being a small light heavyweight, I could actually see him doing well with his speed and movement alone. Hey, I could even see Artur Beterbiev doing well at cruiserweight. But yeah guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of the fight? And where do you rank Dmitry Bivol on the pound for pound list now? And what would you like to happen next? The trilogy? Or maybe they both go their separate ways from here? As always, this has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Thank you so much for watching. And as always guys, I'll see you in the next one.